ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Real Estate America's Newsroom Special Edition. It is Thursday. We are wrapping up this week with the news right before the big holiday. It is Memorial Day weekend. So, wonderful weekend of memorial for our armed services and our wonderful country. We got an action-packed show here today, ladies and gentlemen. New build home sales dropped 16%. So says a new report from April 2022 statistics. So we've been kind of hearing some of the mainstream media news talking about, oh, what's happening here? What's happening here? Well, April's not looking too good on the new construction side. So we're going to roundtable and talk about that. The housing market is starting to drive people to live in their vehicles in Nevada. Looks like it's becoming a problem. People are living in their campers, living in their vehicles, creeping into neighborhoods in the middle of the night, having bonfires, cookouts, beer, and leaving some trash around the streets. So it's starting to become a problem. iBuyers, the wonderful iBuyers, have lost millions and millions of dollars in the last 18 months. We've got a new report that kind of came out. We're going to roundtable. Mr. Kirk Jaffe joins back the show. We've got Mr. Nick Sakkis here today, Tim Parnell, Mark Buhler. We've got a whole lineup, Tony Babarino, and we've got a new guest, Mr. Stanley from Las Vegas. So stick around. We're going to move into mortgage and appraiser news with Kirk and Mark. So you're not going to want to miss this. Two of the top professionals in this great country talking about the things we should be thinking about. And to go ahead and finalize the show today, my HOA did what? My HOA. Do you have a good HOA, a bad HOA? We've got some interesting stories to go ahead and bring to the table here today, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get going forward anymore, I'm going to introduce my esteemed and illustrious co-host. He's back. We are not Nickless today. We are with Nick. Hello, Nick. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, and my dog is going crazy right now because I have some people at the house doing some landscaping, so I apologize in advance.
Hey, that's all right. You know, there's this whole work from home movement, and it's really driving up the housing market in a lot of different places, Nick. So we totally understand. These are the byproducts of what we all have to deal with.
I missed you guys. Did you miss me Tuesday?
We did. We talked about a lot, but it was interesting not hearing your voice in the corner there. So
yeah, we got a lot more.
Glad to see you back.
Today's going to be very interesting.
Out of school. The kids are out of school.
Right? They're getting ready to be picked up in an hour. So yeah, I'll have dogs barking and kids banging on my door tomorrow. So it'll be a fun summer.
That's how you know we're really getting into summer.
Yeah.
So good deal. We have a lot to talk about today here, Nick. It's a mouthful. Got a lot of awesome clips from different mainstream media we're going to talk about.
New home sales, right? I think, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think inflation's really hitting people's pockets. The actual mortgage interest rates are really starting to take effect, and there's a lot of pullback right now. So it's interesting.
Well, what I think is interesting, right, is we start to hear and talk about inventory, and then all of a sudden a look back report like we're going to review comes out about April, and then they say, oh, we were down 16%. And then if you dig a little bit deeper out into this World Wide Web, you see some folks going, ooh, we might have a little bit of an issue. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting because as real estate agents, we kind of live in a vacuum, right? We live in a vacuum. You go to your team meeting, you don't really hear a lot of outside influence. You hear a lot of like, we're in sales, everything's great, we need to help people find their new home, but then you got to hear what's really going on out there, which is why hopefully you watch the show.
Absolutely. Why should people even watch us?
I got to tell you, so reunation.com, if you haven't been there, you should definitely check it out. If you like our show, there's other shows that are over there as well that you'll probably like as well. Anything from marketing to Instagram. We got a bunch of other real estate influencers on there, and we're building every single day. We have all of our show notes, so everything is included when you go to the website. Just drop your name and phone number in there, and we'll keep you updated. And if you'd like to be on the show, because this show is for the people, right? We want you to represent your market. We are currently scouting and getting other people from other parts of the country to give us the real news, what's going on, right? We're covering the whole United States. So if you're in your market, if you're a top agent, broker, mortgage, and you want to be on the show, you have something to say, go to reunation.com, drop in a comment, and we'll get you on the phone and get you on the show.
That was just wonderful. I'm going to go sign up.
Yeah.
That sounded great. So there's this weird thing that has like a bell thing over on YouTube. What should people do with that?
Smash that YouTube button, baby. Like and subscribe, hit the bell. Yeah, let us know, good or bad. If you hate the show, comment. Let us know. Either way, it helped us out.
I'd like
right?
to know. I don't mind being criticized if I don't. Yeah. So
Let us know. We'll improve for you. This is for the people. Our egos are not too big, right? If I need to shave, let me know, right?
I like what you got going on there,
Yeah.
Mr. Nick. I do.
Thank you,
It looks fantastic. Good. Well, you know what? We've got about 7 different clips to go ahead and review from the mainstream media. We've got a lot of folks sitting behind the scenes right now. So we're just going to go ahead and roll right into segment 1 so we can cover some of the mainstream media ground. But let's get right into it. Let's talk about this housing report that came out in April about home construction being down 16%. We'll bring some people in and roundtable it.
Yeah, I had to look at this one twice, Rick, because I was like, wait a minute, that we were expecting 750,000, so to get 590 was really well below expectations. And I got to lay all of this on interest rates. I really do. We started the month with the average on the 30-year fixed at 4.88% in April, ended it at 5.41%. Remember, these are contracts signed in April. That's what these numbers are based on, not closing. So it's not back several months. This is the most recent indicator. So if you're looking at a $450,000 house, which is what the median price was, that mortgage payment just during the month went up $100. But from the start of the year, when a lot of these folks might have been thinking about buying a new house, that monthly payment has increased by $450. That's a lot for the average borrower out there to make that monthly payment that much higher. Also, looking at the month supply for the builders, a 9-month supply up from a 6-month supply in March, that's very high. A 5 to 6 month supply is generally considered a balance between buyer and seller. So 9 months means they're sitting on a lot of properties now. We have Toll Brothers reporting after the bell, and we're going to be looking very closely at cancellation rates on that, because we're starting to hear that we are seeing more cancellation rates in the market as people who, again, might have thought about buying in January put some money down on a new home. Remember, it takes 6 to 8 months to get to that home when you're building. Decided, you know what, can't afford this anymore. So, again, that is a big miss, and this is most likely going to hit the builders today. Back to you, David.
Yeah, Diana, I'm going to come back to you, actually, because, of course, we've got a market very focused on macroeconomics. You just made that very important point about how much the cost of owning a home has gone up in terms of your mortgage from the beginning of the year. Just put this number in some perspective for our viewers, if you can, given your long history. Is there a period in which you've seen this kind of dramatic fall off that we might look back on?
Well, I mean, of course, the Great Recession and the housing crisis, and that was the subprime crisis, that was a much bigger drop, and it was based on all kinds of different fundamentals in the mortgage market, which obviously is not the case today. But you are seeing a consumer who is clearly stretched here. You're seeing inflation. They're having to dole out more money for everything else. A newly built home, maybe it's a discretionary purchase if they can say, look, I'll stay in the home I have, or maybe I'm going to continue renting. New homes are more expensive than existing homes. So again, it's that, higher level buyer. Perhaps they're also more influenced by the stock market. You don't generally see this kind of a month to month drop like this. And we are down close to 29% year over year in new home sales. So again, it's a very large drop for the month. And it says that people who were really stretched, they can't take this mortgage rate increase, David.
Yeah.
29% down year over year, gentlemen, and a 16% reduction in April. Mr. Kirk, what says this about the Fed increases mortgage rates, and now we're starting to see it a little bit? Break it down for us.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Definitely inflation is impacting, consumers' wallets. Things are more expensive for sure. But I think what we'll find in the long run is a lot of this inventory has been building up. We've had supply chain issues. We've had builders who can't complete. And when you run these situations where it takes much longer to build a house in a market that's so volatile, I wonder how many of those cancellations were just because borrowers went and found somewhere else to live because they were tired of waiting for the builder. So what's that percentage? Diana Olick likes to throw the fire up regularly. You will see a clip later. We'll go through that, how she predicted values of homes are going to collapse. And then she shows charts that's just the opposite, right, of her own information. So, I take it with a grain of salt. I will show you one chart here real quick just to.
Absolutely. While you're bringing that up, Tony, on Tuesday, we were talking about escalation clauses, right? So here's one side saying we have an actual demand reduction, so there should be more supply sitting on the new side. But new home builders have escalation clauses, and they're actually pulling prices up as they go in a lot of different markets. So that kind of painted an overall supposed air quote kind of a picture of what's going on in the industry. But I think it's definitely market to market. What say you?
I think, at least for a little while, the new home builders, which they normally have a lot of power, I think they are trying a little too hard to squeeze every penny, and rightfully so. It is a business. However, I'm going to take a prediction or guess that moving forward, the builders, as these qualified buyers, either get tired of waiting and buy something else, like Kirk said, or they just manage their money well and they realize it's going to cost me too much to own this house. I'll go buy something secondhand and maybe get a better deal in a better location because we're running out of dirt to build on around here. Or three, the builders at some point, they might have to start taking a hit, again, might start taking a hit at their profit margin to reduce it a little bit to make those prices more attractive again and bring back all those qualified buyers and hopefully get their sales moving along. So you can only keep charging so much more until the public who have the money to buy the product they're making, the public's going to say, look, we're just not going to buy these homes anymore. It's too long, too expensive, it's getting ridiculous. So I'm going to predict the builders are going to have to start biting the bullet a little bit in terms of every nickel and dime they're trying to get, and we'll start to see things shift the other direction slowly.
Understood.
So,
Break it down for us, Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, if I can make this a little bigger, we'll see. So if you look at this chart, and it's hard to see, I understand, but this is U.S. single-family homes for sale weekly inventory. We track through Altos Research every week, every home for sale in the United States. And the third week of May, which is right here, which is our last peak last week, is historically when inventory starts to drop. So you can see going back to 2016, third week of May, spike. Every year it spikes, except down here, 2021, which is a pandemic. And then here we go. So April, right in here, you've got this little drop in April, and then it spikes. And we're actually on a relatively normal trajectory to what we've seen over the last 6 years.
So you're saying, so says the data, this is cyclical, and everything from what we do know in our past is kind of coming again?
Yeah, I mean, definitely things are more expensive. That's true. But I think that most consumers could budget their way into a home if they wanted it. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that homes are going to go down in value. So anytime in this environment, really anytime is the right time to get into a home if you're building a family, creating and establishing roots. It's the next step.
Nick, what's your take?
I love that Kirk brought that up. So all of the agents, there's some firepower for you, right? And not firepower because we're not trying to convince people to do the wrong thing, but just know that there's some numbers to back up the facts. And we're not just out here saying, now's a good time to buy a home because it's always a good time to buy a home because I'm a real estate agent and I need commission, right? When you know the facts, the problem is when the mainstream media starts picking up stuff and then there's FOMO in the market, it doesn't matter what the facts are because FOMO is real, right? The idea, the FUD, the just the uncertainty of the news will create different markets, if you will, right? One thing that we didn't necessarily talk about, or we haven't talked about yet, about a year ago, might have been 18 months ago, Lennar, who's a national home builder, announced a rent-to-own program. So when you think about in terms of big builders, how can they solve this problem of, okay, we need to keep building. We know inventory is low, but we're getting priced out. How do we combat this? Well, why not we just let people rent a home, right, for a 12 to 18 month period and then let them purchase the home after the fact. So I think there might be some savvy builders that kind of go along with this. And if you've never done a rent back or anything like that as a real estate agent, you might want to brush up on that, paperwork, if you will. Because that could be something that we could see more of in the future than we have.
We see institutional lenders, Goldman Sachs coming into Florida, purchasing a whole community.
Right.
So why wouldn't the builders go ahead and take a look at that as well and say, hey, you know what, we're in a position to do it. Why don't we do it? And yeah, that makes sense. So inflation, right? Obviously the housing market, the pandemic, inflation, loss of all of these are contributing factors, Mr. Kirk, right? And it's driving people to make different decisions.
Yeah, it's an adjustment period. You know, whenever this country goes through, and I'll show you in the next segment, whenever this country has gone through an inflationary period, people have to adjust, and they're going to have to make tough choices. and the big purchases are going to be front of mind, right?
Yep.
Because that's our biggest expense. So, but people find their equilibrium, and I think they will again.
So finding an equilibrium, some people in Las Vegas and Nevada and different parts of California are driven completely out of their homes because of their situation, Nick, and starting to move into their vans, their campers, their trucks, and starting to become a problem. Did you hear about any of this?
I have heard, and actually, I like the video that we're about to show, but I saw a social media influencer a couple of weeks ago. We didn't talk about this. He actually he quit his job because he didn't want to be corporate anymore. Okay. And the way that he combated all this is he started living in a van, and then he Airbnb'd his house, and he sold each room of his house. He had like a 4-bedroom house. He ended up making the same amount of income by Airbnb in his personal home and living in a van than he was in corporate America. And he was also able to travel the country and basically have fun doing what he wanted to do, which was rock climbing and all kinds of craziness. So interesting ways to basically monetize now, and then also think about life, right?
A lot of variables. Everybody's so unique and different in their own individual way, right, for their household. So let's take a look at what's going on in Nevada, because it's starting to pop up into the mainstream. Looks like it could be an issue that folks are dealing with down there.
The past 2 years, dealing with the pandemic introduced a host of new challenges, from loss of jobs to inflation to one not easily seen, vehicular homelessness. Hello and thanks for joining us live at 6. I'm Dave Courvoisier.
And I'm Trisha Keene. That new challenge has forced many people to call their cars home. And reporter Alicia Patillo is joining us live from Summerlin with a look at this growing problem. Alicia.
Dave and Trisha, here along State Route 159, just outside Summerlin, there's a problem. Residents tell us people are parking and living inside their RVs, vans, and vehicles. It's illegal, and there's even no parking signs, and now residents are concerned. Jeremy Kelly walks out of his Summerlin home and sees RVs parked along his street. He wonders what's going on.
Well, first, are they visiting someone? Because I'm not trying to say, okay, are they the bad guy? But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out, okay, hey, what is your purpose here?
After several months, he realized these visitors are uninvited guests.
And what we've noticed as residents, and myself specifically, multiple incidences where RVs, recreational vehicles, sedans, and SUVs show up in the neighborhood unannounced. They leave trash, debris, cooking, having grill outs, they're drinking their alcohol.
Kelly shared these pictures and videos with 13 Action News, showing RVs parked along State Route 159, an access road to Red Rock Canyon, and right behind his Summerlin neighborhood. In fact, Kelly says from his own backyard, he can see the RVs lining up, staying overnight, sometimes longer. Kelly says these same RVs often come and park on his street, but they aren't headed to the National Conservation Area.
Between September and early May, they're here in full force now, especially after our pandemic. There is a slew of individuals that, yes, unfortunately lost their homes, lost their jobs. They've moved into vans, they're living out of their vehicles.
Others are taking notice. Katrina Grigsby Thetford, director of Nevada Homeless Alliance, says the problem is nothing new here in the valley, but the pandemic and inflation magnify the vehicular dwelling issue.
Due to, COVID and the housing prices increasing and loss of employment, that their only option is to live in their car. A lot of these individuals do have work and they're low income, but don't make enough money to afford rent.
As far as the law goes, the city of Las Vegas told 13 Action News it's illegal to live inside your RV or vehicle on a residential street. If they find a violation, code enforcement officers will come out and assess the situation, possibly issuing fines and fees. Now, Nevada Homeless Alliance tells me they are here to help. So if you're residents living in the area and you notice RVs or vehicles living on your street, you should contact their organization. The center has outreach groups ready to assist those in need of shelter. Just outside Summerlin, I'm Alicia Patillo reporting.
Quite interesting. Quite interesting. So it looks like some different things are happening in parts of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Dan Stanley. He's a licensed real estate agent from Las Vegas and the Summerlin area. Wanted to go ahead and get your opinion on what's going on here. Have you guys heard anything in the local area? Is this becoming an issue? What do you see around there?
We've been seeing it off and on for years now. I've lived here about 5.5 years. I remember going out to Red Rock when I first got here every week that I could, and there was always somebody camped out somewhere. So it's not too big a surprise. We are seeing a little bit more of it, though. I'll tell you, to just bring it all down to brass tacks, yesterday I got 3 calls from renters that I had helped last year, all in a panic because their houses are either getting sold out from under them or everybody's rent is going up by $200 a month at a minimum. So
Yeah.
people are in a panic.
Yeah. Mark, you said something in the pre-show. You're from Southern California. Tell us about some of the things you're seeing with this situation there in California.
Well, the cost of housing here has been driving people out into their cars or into their vans for years here. So locally here along the coastline, there's a group of campers that show up every morning at the beach, and they can buy an annual pass for $195 and stay there all day long until 10 p.m. And then they go find their way to a place to park during the day. Up in Silicon Valley, there's actually a street outside of Google where there's a line of vans for the people who work there that just can't afford to live there.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, are you seeing anything like this happening in Florida?
Not in the Tampa Bay area, not yet, right? But I think we're a little bit of a unicorn. We've talked about it before, how many people are moving here. There's a lot of commerce. There's a lot of job opportunities. So we're not necessarily there yet, but I don't see this getting any better, right? Anytime soon. We have a lot of large companies that have figured out over the pandemic that they don't necessarily need as many people as they have been on the staff. And so a lot of people working from home thinking this is the best thing ever that work for a corporation, they're getting ready to do a bunch of layoffs. So this isn't going to be the first we hear of this kind of stuff. And if you think about it, most of these people would probably live in a studio apartment, right? And if the studio apartment is normally a $500 to $600 a month, cost of living for an average person that works a retail job or whatever, now that studio apartment's $1,000, $1,100 in some places, right? And so it makes sense that, hey, man, I'm just going to live in my car for a little bit, so you see how this plays out.
Tim, give us a little bit of a economic inflationary outlook. Talk to us a little bit about some of the pressures that these folks might be under, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a forecast of where you feel things are going.
Yeah, it's not letting up. We are definitely now seeing the full-on evidence of what is happening in our inflationary environment. And yes, people are not able to afford their regular lifestyle. So you come down to the basic needs are just simple shelter, food, clothing, and so your essentials. So if you don't need the house and you can't afford the apartment or whatever, then you're going to live out of your car, and you're going to eat out of the car, and I think this is going to trend. I really do. Not because it's trendy, but because it's out of necessity. And so we're going to see more of it. I do believe, and I said this before on a different show, I said, I think there's I do think that there's a viable market for creating, camper cities. If you can provide amenities and give somebody a cheap hookup in a restroom or whatever, and charge them what they would normally be charged for a studio apartment, if you could allow these, that might be the solution on the outskirts of some of these cities. So anyway, it's just little things like that I think as a need arises, the citizens will adopt and adapt, right? And these little gaps will be filled some way, somehow.
Elon Musk, I saw him in the news not so long ago talking about building affordable, sustainable housing to the tune of smaller homes, right? Not big, but they're definitely not fixed. Some of these things can be relocated quite easy. We talked about the Boxable company as well, being able to go ahead and build something where we're talking $16,000, maybe $30,000, and finding a location. I think you guys might be right. That might start trending in that direction. Nick, what's your overall view on this?
Yeah, if you're a trailer park operator, right? Traditionally, I think you might need to make some room and take a look at these tiny house lifestyles, right? It is trendy, so I do like it, and I do think that there is a lot of opportunity there as a real estate agent, as an investor, to take advantage of that. But this isn't going down anytime soon. There's a lot of social media. You watch the news and social media, it's like, oh, everything's okay, everybody's cool, like there's no problem. But there's a lot of families, like you said, Jake, you say it all the time at the dinner table. What's the discussion inside the home? Which is, hey, grocery bill is normally $250. It's now $400. What are we going to cut out? What do we absolutely need? And what are the luxuries? So it's time to get resourceful. If you don't have a side hustle, get a side hustle. If you need to sell some feet pics, good on you, right? Whatever you need to do. But it's time to be resourceful.
So this morning I woke up and I love drinking a fresh glass of water first, right out of bed, and squeezing some lemon into it. Right. I heard that.
I thought that was going in a different direction. I'm sorry.
No, but when we were cutting lemons this morning, to go ahead and have your first glass of water with some lemon to hydrate and detox, Mrs. Wolfe said, "Do you know how much I spent on those lemons?" So it is a talking point in everybody's house, and we're seeing and hearing analysts talking about crude oil prices going to $150 a barrel over the summer. So kind of think, hold on to your hats. Quick question for both of you gentlemen, Dan, Mark. You both live in southern states, dry climates, Las Vegas, Southern California. Historically, we've seen a lot of people from different parts of the country that have gotten into issues kind of relocate to those climates just because of the weather, right? So this could be local issues, but also people that are kind of coming in. Am I right or wrong here? Dan, take it away for me.
I believe you're right, where the influx of people coming in from all over the country, even Canada, is just blowing my mind. I was paying real close attention to your new build section because I've got Canadians who are scheduled to take ownership next year, about this time next year, on new builds. So I was looking at our sales numbers this week. Year over year, we're selling homes for about $80,000 more than we were last year, but everything else is staying the same. The expireds, back on markets, time it takes to sell, everything's at about 101% list to sell price. So it really is just a matter of people moving out here to get, you lived out here, you can find a job if you need one. Pizza delivery.
I think a lot of people can find work if they wanted one. So.
True. Out here, though, pizza delivery boys are making about $22 an hour on average. So that's what we're seeing a lot of. And I think people are just going to be doing the camper thing for a while. I have a family member who worked for Camper World, and to piggyback off of, I think it was what Tim said, anybody who's got some land and is converting that land to be able to use for these camper hookups, it's just cleaning up. It's going to be this way for a while.
Interesting. Well, Mr. Dan, welcome to Real Estate American News. We appreciate you. Would you like to go ahead and come back to keep us tuned in on what's happening in Las Vegas?
Please. It's been an incredible honor. Thank you, guys.
Outstanding. Yeah, and Dan, how can people get in touch with you if they're needing representation down there? I know you work with a big team.
My number is area code 803-270-4331. And my website is welcometohendersonnv.com, powered by some little startup called Clever Nation, spelled with is that a C or a K? I can't remember.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Good. Thank you, Mr. Dan. We appreciate you. Stick around for some of the following segments. Mark, Southern California, people could be coming in, same kind of a scenario. Do you see that to be a true statement?
Well, people are leaving in droves, as you know, that want to live between four walls. But yes, we do have the van life movement here that has proliferated through the pandemic, and the climate is nice. There are ways to do that and to skirt paying rent and paying mortgages as long as you are okay living in a little box. I found it kind of ironic. It seemed like in that clip that we just watched, there was a van with a couple surfboards on top, maybe they got thrown out from the beach here, or the waves were small, or I don't know. But and Dan had mentioned that, yeah, from September to May, it's very busy there. But I don't think you want to live in a van in Las Vegas through that oppressive summer heat. So we are seeing it here for sure.
Okay, good deal. Nick, iBuyers. What is an iBuyer? What is that? iBuyer.
I is the eye of the storm that we thought was coming, but turned out to not, right? Intellectual algorithm cannot properly price homes. How about that? We all know that real estate is hyper local, and I think Zillow just proved that with their iBuyer program.
iBuyers, ladies and gentlemen, have lost millions and millions of dollars. Let's go ahead and find out what mainstream media says. We'll roundtable this.
New at 10, in a housing market where prices jumped hundreds of thousands of dollars, one of the largest real estate websites in the country actually lost money. Zillow spent much of last year buying up properties all over the valley, only to end up selling them for less money than they paid.
So how did that happen? Team 12's Michael Doudna talked to one homeowner who cashed in on the risky business strategy before it collapsed.
Yeah, guys, as Valley home prices skyrocketed in recent years, some iBuyers were losing millions of dollars. And that included Zillow, which told shareholders back in November that they couldn't accurately forecast future home prices by, quote, much more than we modeled as possible. The end result here is that Zillow lost more than $100,000 on more than a dozen Valley homes.
The biggest losses, a $136,000 loss on Cooper's Hawk Ridge, another $154,000 at Bruce Spruce Lane, and a whopping $192,612 off of North 50th Way.
It's mind-blowing, right?
Robert Miller used to own that house off of North 50th Way until he got a call from a friend to see what Zillow would offer.
And initially Zillow came with a offer online of $585, which was $60,000 more than a realtor said it was worth at the time.
Zillow then sent an employee out for 15 minutes to take pictures. A day later, Zillow offered $662,000.
Bittersweet. You know, I love the house, I love the neighborhood, but I don't think that it was worth that.
So Robert sold and rented a house down the street in the very same neighborhood.
The move was easy and the money's in the bank.
But just 74 days later, Zillow sold the property again, this time for $470,000.
It kind of made me sick. And how did they ever get to be as big as they are if they're doing stuff like this?
See, Zillow and other iBuyers purchase thousands of houses, and the core of it all are their algorithms.
The problem with using an algorithm is that algorithms can't gauge nuances in the marketplace.
That's Tina Tambor with the Cromford Report. See, Zillow declined our request for an interview, but said that their models couldn't keep up with a rapidly changing market.
Because they're buying in bulk, they build up to riskiness.
Deidre Pfeiffer is with ASU, and she says all the losses on the houses they bought up begin to add up. See, Zillow lost more than $400 million in the second half of 2021 and quit buying homes nationwide in November.
And I think I was probably one of the last ones to sell before they just collapsed.
But while Zillow lost millions, potential homeowners lost out on homes.
You know, made offer after offer, visited home after home, and were outcompeted every time and had to, see their dreams diminish.
And while Zillow has backed out of the market, other iBuyers are still out there. Because as long as there's an opportunity, those looking to take advantage will be there.
And I think there's a sense that our housing market is becoming more and more of a place that's, just about building wealth, right? And not necessarily for the people who live here.
Michael Doudna, 12 News.
All right, and to prove how volatile this housing market continues to be, the house you saw in Michael's story just sold again. Now remember how far it dropped.
Right, down to 400
something,
yeah.
right. It just sold again for $720,000.
Wow.
Even more than Zillow originally bought it for.
Wow, incredible.
Quite interesting. Did you see that Zillow possessed door that just slammed? Something was wrong there. Right. So how would you like it, Nick? Sell your home, move down the street, and then 74 days later, watch all of this live action happening.
We see it. We're seeing it in every market. The interesting part about all of this, and since I'm a marketer, I always have a marketing hat on, right? There's so many real estate agents out there that are banging their chests like, we told you, we were right. Algorithms suck. Zillow lost millions of dollars, but guess what? In terms of marketing and how much chatter they're getting throughout the country right now, how much would it have cost them from a marketing campaign perspective to be in the news as much as they have been for this giant loss? I don't want to say it's a win, but it's almost a wash for them because it's basically marketing dollars that the end consumer is still thinking about Zillow when they think about real estate. So they might have lost money up front, but from a marketing perspective, I think it's a great move for them.
Interesting.
To announce how much money they've lost, and it's on everybody's mind, and people want a deal. Oh, I'm going to go to Zillow because I heard that they bought houses, and now they're doing a firestorm.
Well, it also feeds into the narrative of the mainstream just down in the market. So, if you want to fan those flames and spread the word, and like I said, sky is falling, then you get one of the biggest players in the game that people are already familiar with, and you let them, say, well, this is how bad we're doing, right? So, anyway, I just from then the perspective of stepping back and looking at it and just looking at the whole board, it just makes sense that they're putting their 2 cents in the way they are.
Tony, I have a question for you. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Bring it. Zillow says my home is worth this, right? There's a lot of people that are going to Zillow to take a look at homes, kind of check out the marketplace. And there's prices that are sitting there, and it's obviously skewing the mindset of what should I list my home at? What should I purchase a possible home at? And if Zillow can't go ahead and get it right, and if they're taking a tank like that, should people be cautious if they go into that marketplace?
Yes, they should. My feelings and the feelings of a lot of my clients that I've done deals with, we do have that conversation, whether they started or I bring it up just so we can clear the air and set proper perspectives and expectations. I wouldn't diagnose myself with WebMD anymore. I would trust any algorithm with guessing the value of the most expensive thing I own. So this whole story that we're just talking about, I mean, Zillow has the right to try to make money like anybody else. However, I'll quote Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. They spent so much time wondering if they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. So that algorithm, it's all over the place, and it takes a human being like we realtors to really show people the data and as much facts and the best professional opinions we can give, because we're trying to serve the client where the algorithm is just crunching its numbers. So I would be very cautious about any consumer coming to any agent and saying, this is what Zillow said. And we have to be careful and not say, oh, you're wrong. It's, well, let's look at the facts and let's look at the specific values and uniqueness or things about your home that algorithm doesn't know. And now you're starting to kind of enlighten them, and they will probably come to their own decisions of, oh, you got some interesting points, tell me more. And I hope those are the conversations people are having now.
Tony, if people want to know what Zillow said and what you say in Southern California, how can they get in touch with you?
Very easily. They can either call me at 949-633-6741 or just go to my website where all the information is to reach out to me at Tony, BABARINO.com. And I'm happy to have that conversation and see if we're a good fit.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tony. Mark, you're an appraiser. So Zillow said that my home was worth this, and you say...
Well, Zillow doesn't hold a license or E&O insurance, nor do they make informed buying decisions that are considered arm's length transactions. When you expose a property to the market reacts and says, that's a good price and I'll take it for that. And there's negotiation that goes back and forth. When Zillow comes to you with an offer that's too good to pass up, that results in them losing $881 million. I see why people take these deals, and I see why these numbers are astounding. And Nick made a really great point that any publicity is publicity. It's going to take a long time to get $881 million of of publicity out of this, but Zillow was making their money off ads and off partnering with realtors. They could have probably hired someone who knew about investments for the loss that they took on one house in Phoenix there to help them out with this, because the algorithm clearly didn't work, and the business model of buying high and selling low was not sustainable for Zillow.
Absolutely. Mark, how can people get in touch with you at your appraisal company and your education systems?
You can reach out to me by email. It's mark@cmpappraisal.com.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mark. Kirk, what's your take on Zillow?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for sure. Coming from the institutional side myself, I can tell you that banks don't want to be in the real estate holding business because they don't understand the construction piece of it. And I think Zillow just proved that out. Zillow is a marketing company, not a construction company. And I think it's interesting when Zillow's algorithms can't help them. So I think it's important that borrowers and consumers think of that. It also makes me think of another idea, which is there's a great opportunity in this market. There are programs like a 203K, which is an FHA government-backed mortgage, which will help consumers purchase a house that needs repair and complete just about every repair that you would need. A couple things are excluded, like a pool, but you can get a house that needs help, like what Zillow was trying to do, and the FHA will make sure that you go lockstep through the process. So as a consumer, you can buy a house at a lower price, finance all the infrastructure of it and the improvement, and then live in a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah,
we're going to see a lot more of those in the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah,
for sure.
Going to be quite interesting.
Speaking of data, so just to back up my claim, and obviously, $800 million is a lot of money. When it comes to marketing, these companies spend tens of millions of dollars every single year. So it's not that far-fetched, but Zillow's estimate as a search term on Google in the past 12 months is up 900% year over year. I would take that marketing to the bank. That is a huge increase in search terms. So nobody feels bad for Zillow, obviously, but it's I'll leave it at that.
All right. Good deal. So iBuyers lost multiple millions, ladies and gentlemen. Keep an eye on them. Let us know what you think. Let's get into the mortgage news. We're going to move into the mortgage corner with Mr. Kirk Jaffe. We're also going to bring Mark Buhler back to this segment so we can go ahead and talk about that. But let's take a look at some of the mainstream media reports.
Anyway, some data on the state of the housing market just released. Let's get over to Diana Olick. She's looking through these numbers that we are watching ever so closely now. Diana, what have you learned?
Well, Becky, we just got the latest weekly mortgage applications report, another drop in demand, and this after a report yesterday showing a far wider than expected drop in sales of newly built homes. So I wanted to take a big step back and show you why this quick reversal in what was a red-hot housing market. The quick and sharp jump in mortgage rates, along with huge gains in home prices, are simply pricing buyers out. Take a look at what has happened just basically to the $300,000 house in just the last 3 years. In May of 2019, with 20% down, a 30-year fix, and then the rate of 4.33%. The monthly payment, just $1,192, and that is not including taxes and insurance. Now, in 2020, that same house, 5% more expensive, but mortgage rates fell at the start of the pandemic, so the monthly payment had actually dropped. By 2021, we're really surging. Prices up 15%, but rates dropped even further, so the monthly payment only about $100 more. Then you fast track to this May with prices up another 21% and mortgage rates surging. The monthly payment is now almost $800 a month more than it was in 2019. Supply of homes for sale, of course, is rising a little bit, but not where we really need it, which is on the lowest end of the market. Becky?
Yeah, and Diana, that's the question we keep coming back to. At what point does it stop people from buying houses? And I guess to figure that out, you also have to compare rent increases and what we've seen over that period of time, too.
Exactly. Rents are surging, so you're looking at more people who want to buy, and maybe they have the down payment, but they're seeing this monthly payment rise. They also have gotten to the point where they don't want to catch a falling knife. They just don't want to buy when they think that prices have peaked. So we're really starting to see these sales numbers come down. Usually prices will follow. We'll wait and see if that happens over the next couple of months. But so interesting how quickly in 1 month that this market has really turned.
Mr. Kirk, break it down for us.
Yeah, it definitely has turned. That's true. But let's look at a chart here, and we can see historically what mortgage rates in the United States have been going back to 1972. So historically, we're about a 7% average. But let's knock out a bunch of this and just take the last 20 years from 2000 out. From 2000, you were about 8.25%, 8.5% on mortgages. Today, we're at 5.5%. So we're still well below historical averages. I think people need to appreciate that a little bit more and put it into their budget. Diana Olick, as I said earlier, if you look at that chart from the clip, she's talking about how unaffordable it is. Well, I'll ask you a different question, and I'm not suggesting we use housing as a investment vehicle. However, if you're in a rising market and you're going to put an extra $300 into an investment, whether it's life insurance or cryptocurrency or the equity markets, wouldn't you put that into the housing market, live in the home, enjoy all the benefits and the tax benefits, and watch your property appreciate by $150,000 or more over a 3-year period? To me, that's a pretty good investment.
Yeah. Mark Buhler, what say you?
Well, the affordability is it's hitting everybody here in California. What we're seeing now is more homes on the market. Demand is waning, but when she pointed out that as rates go up and the prices have gone up so much, that the bottom line to the consumer is that increased home payment. There aren't a lot of options here, and I do agree with Kirk. Like you might as well just buy now, because I don't see that the market's going to slow up in any way as far as prices go. But we are beginning to see a little bit more supply, and demand is beginning to wane for whatever reason it might be. And I'm not a realtor, but I would say if you're thinking about buying a house, now is as good a time as any, because the signs point to increased values in the future.
Understood.
Bring Zillow back into it. They're predicting 11% appreciation for 2022. And they reduced their prediction. So
wait a second. Zillow said what?
11. They've dropped their prediction recently to 11% appreciation in 2022.
Nick, I'm throwing some salt over my shoulder. Zillow said, there goes some salt.
But Zillow said,
just a topic of the day.
I gotcha.
Tim, so when the mortgage rates were 8%, the home prices were what versus when the home prices are where they're at now?
What was that year, Kirk, that you said?
2000.
2000. Yeah, 2000 or about 8.5.
Half.
Yeah.
Half price.
Yeah, at least that. But you know what else wasn't in affecting that at the time was the massive freaking inflation we got going on. So again, like I don't have a problem with 5% interest. I don't have a problem with 8% interest. What I have a problem with is interest rates on the rise while taxes are on the rise on already inflated home prices, while inflation is on the rise, while everything is on the rise, gas price, all of it. And so the consumer pocketbook is getting hit from every stinking angle. So that includes the homeowner themselves or the person that wanted to buy the home in the first place. So if you ask me, well, why should I buy a home versus rent? Well, my answer is if you know you're going to be in a house 5 or more years, then what you're buying at this point is stability and knowing what your home payment or your living payment's going to be. Whereas if you're renting in this market, you have no idea if the rent's going up $100 a month for the remainder of the next 12 months or 18 months. You don't know. So as long as there's people in an area coming in and there's a demand for housing, renting, or whatever, it's going to go up. So you're buying that stability is what you're really doing. So that's for me the conversation I'd be having with buyers is, not that I want to ignore prices and I want to make sure that financially it does make sense, but that it's really just a practical decision at that point.
Tim, tell everybody real quick what you do for folks at the Patriot Wealth Nation.
Yeah, so we sat down. We are all about education. We don't sell anybody anything. We simply educate. Where we meet people is they're going through some painful times with their 401ks, their IRAs, their retirement accounts, and they're watching it lose to the market. And we have solutions that help protect that money 100% from market downside. In many of our products, we can set up, you can grow your wealth without having to pay taxes, but you're doing compounded gains on your money. There's just, we tailor solutions for the individual. We've got people who want to sell their property and roll that equity, capture the equity, put into something where, maybe even if the market doesn't dip down, maybe it's not going up like it could. You could take that equity, capture it, put it into a compound earning account. If you got rental properties, things like that, and let that money just grow like crazy. So we really are hitting people wherever they need it. I talked to a gal recently. She had $2.1 million at the beginning of the year. Right now, she is down 27% on her money. So she's definitely well below that. And we were able to find her a solution that she can still take $100,000 a year out of her money. And we can grow that money every year. And she'll have tripled, if not more so, in the next several years. So anyway, it's just versus losing to the market is my point. So we just help people. That's what we do. We educate, we help.
How can people get in touch with you if they want to book an appointment and get educated?
Absolutely. You can reach me at patriotwealthnation@protonmail.com. And we use Proton Mail because it's encrypted and we deal with sensitive information. So we want to make sure that your info is protected there.
That's how you know that this is serious. Mr. Tim Parnell is using Proton Mail, ladies and gentlemen. Kirk, quite interesting. So on Tuesday's Mortgage Corner, you said now's a good time to get in, right? Because things are only going that way.
Yeah. Just like Tim said, having great advisors who have products that understand their market and are true experts makes all the difference. In the mortgage market, we're talking about things like using ARM loans, budgeting out your time, I should say. How long do you plan on being in your home and what's your future look like so you can get the right mortgage product to match. ARM loans are not terrible. They got terrible press back in 2008.
Yeah, let's cap on this here. Let's spend a couple minutes real quick. In 2008, everybody was losing their homes. Their houses were obviously dropping in value. People were short selling those adjustable rate mortgages fixed. I remember there was 1-year ARMs, 2-year ARMs, 3-year ARMs. So like you're saying, the ARM got a bad press. But however, now there's 10-year ARM products.
Yeah, 10-year, 7-year, 5-year. And also one of the strategies I'm using now is a 2-1 buy down, where you can have the seller pay to lower the interest rate. So it's a way to get an incentive, and it's something we want to teach our real estate agents definitely about how to use that tool, because it helps the buyers to keep
how to use that tool is the most important. To me, the adjustable rate mortgage, and since I'm in Tampa, Florida, I'll give you a water analogy. Adjustable rate mortgage is like a jet ski, right? So there's a lot of people that know how to ride a jet ski and can do it well, but there's even more people that crash into the dock trying to show off, right? So just be careful, know how to use the tool. It's not for everybody. Be careful. Talk to somebody like Kurt or another professional that knows exactly how to explain this to you.
Kirk, if there's somebody that's looking to get into some financing, or if there's another real estate professional out there that wants to help get more educated on some of these other products so they can be a better ambassador for their constituents, how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can always go to kirkjaffe.com, or you can reach me on my cell phone at 818-469-2189.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Mr. Kirk. We appreciate you. Nick, my homeowners association just did what?
We had fun with that conversation pre-show.
Oh,
all the different homeowners association quirks that we've all experienced. From
ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gone to YouTube and typed in homeowner association stories, maybe that's something you might want to do for entertainment. But Nick, I've got this Geico commercial here. Did you know you could save money by switching to Geico? But it kind of depicts a little bit of a homeowners association situation. Let's go ahead and preview it.
Oh, we love our new home. Neighborhood's great.
Amazing school district. The HOA has been very involved.
These shrubs aren't board approved. You need to break down your cardboard.
Thank you.
Violation. Violation.
I see you've met Cynthia.
At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
And does help us save a bunch of money.
2 inches over regulation.
Thanks, Cynthia.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
Great marketing. Love it.
Tony, have you met Cynthia?
About every 3 weeks in my mailbox, there is a photograph on a piece of paper saying, "Don't do that. Don't do this." Yeah, so yeah, I know her. She's the unofficial, uninformed ambassador who's been here when the place was dirt, and there is a sense of entitlement there. Oh boy.
All right. Well, let's. I've got 2 more news clips for this segment here. Let's get into some real world stuff so we can roundtable the rest of the team.
A woman fighting a $17,000 bill after she says her HOA fined her for things like a misplaced trash can and hanging her hose outside of her home.
She says she has tried to reason with him, but her bill just was sent to a collections agency, and she told our Caitlin Ross she feels absolutely powerless and hopeless.
Pat Kramer has lived in the same Powder Springs home for 13 years and never had a problem until a new management company took over. She told me she started getting fines for things she thought were ridiculous, like how you could see her garbage can from the street or the way her hose hung from her house. She says she's tried to meet with the HOA to ask for mercy, but they refused and sent her bill to a collections agency.
Well, it's just insane. It's purely insane, and there's nothing I can do. And they could put a lien on my house. They can do that. They have the right to do that. So I could lose my house technically.
She is right. HOAs are able to submit that lien to a bank. Reveal investigator Rebecca Lindstrom found a case where an HOA foreclosed on a woman's home and bought it for $3.14. In that investigation, Rebecca spoke to an attorney who says it's all legal. The attorney says the responsibility of the homeowner to know the rules about the community and abide by them, even if they don't agree.
Kirk, $3.14 home purchase.
Yeah, it's possible if you're buying it directly from the bank or from an HOA that has a delinquency.
I've got another one here. I got another one here that's pretty serious. I mean, there is a whole community in Gilbert, Arizona. They're all into social media together. They're trying to monitor free speech, actually. Let's go ahead and take a look at this.
HOA threatening community members with fines and other penalties if residents post critical comments about the board on social media. It's ruffled feathers, to say the least, and now the community is fighting back. ABC 15's Cameron Pullum explains why a heated battle over board seats led to this fight over free speech.
If I didn't love this community, I wouldn't be fighting this fight.
Ashley Nordesha lives in Val Vista Lakes off Greenfield and Baseline Road since 2019. She's been the admin of a private community Facebook page called Residents at VVL.
It's all about bringing that community together.
It's your usual neighborhood page full of events, lost dogs, and safety updates. But when board elections kicked off last year, the debate over who should be seated got heated.
It was disagreements about how certain members of the board run the board, where they're spending our money, things of that nature.
Those disagreements played out in the comments of the page. Following elections, the board proposed a social media policy restricting opinions about the board on Facebook. It was vehemently opposed by the community and quickly tabled. Then this letter showed up at Nordesha's home.
They are threatening if I don't remove any content that frames certain members of the board in a negative light.
Threatening her with $250 daily fines, as well as taking away her access to community amenities. The letter was sent from a law firm paid for by HOA fees to at least 11 people.
And they are asking me to basically censor the speech of the 650 members that belong to that page.
Clearly, it's an overreach by the board.
Keith Faber received a letter too and says the board has no right to restrict free speech on a private Facebook page.
It's improper and they need to address it, and maybe there should be some resignations.
The letter demands posts that are disparaging, speculative, or defaming to board members be removed immediately. It also cites past incidents, including posts that said that board members altered or manipulated votes in annual elections and that board members purposely retaliated against members in the association. Opinions that now come with consequences.
I really do believe in that freedom of speech, and we are a diverse community with diverse opinions and views, and we should be able to share that and have a discussion about that.
I'm Cameron Pullum, ABC 15 Arizona.
Well, we spoke with a board member over the phone who said they would get back to us with a statement or comment about our story, but then never called us back. For greater understanding, we spoke with two separate constitutional attorneys who are in no way connected to the story, and they told us the board is overstepping their authority.
All right. So the HOA woes and do's and don'ts. The struggle is real. We're censoring free speech. We're kicking people, elderly folks, out of homes and selling them for $3.14. We're cutting mailboxes off, gentlemen. Real quick, towards the end of the show, question for you on this. I know we could deep dive and have a lot of fun with talking about HOAs and all the rest of this stuff, but if you are going to purchase into a community, I'm curious, should I be finding out if there is a issue with my HOA? Should I be doing some investigative research? And ooh, look at all of the heads nodding. I must be hitting on something properly here. Dan, break it down for us.
Excuse me, couldn't find the mute button there. It's like the lady said, they legally can put a lien on your home and foreclose on you. So if you're spending the money to buy a home, you're obligated to understand what rules you're agreeing to.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely.
No matter how ridiculous they are.
Yeah. So I should do some research beforehand. So says Dan. All right. Outstanding. Thank you. Tony.
Yes.
What say you? You deal with HOAs all over the place. Is this something that you advise your clients on when they go into a new neighborhood?
In our state, and especially here in the county, having HOA documents disclosed to the buyer is part of it. Unfortunately, people don't read it. They really should. And you know, if you're signing off on it, you're signing off that you read it, but did you read it? So that's number one. Number two, the freedom of speech protects the individual or organizations from retaliatory efforts of the government to shut you up. It doesn't protect you when it's private, like Facebook is private. It's something you join into. And so, you know, we have to understand what freedom of speech is defined as. So if people read the Constitution and all the other government documentation that explains the freedom of speech. So I see why people are saying that, and we do enjoy free speech in general. I feel bad for those people, but really, to start from the beginning with all of that with HOA issues is read the documentation. Number two, if you don't like how your HOA is behaving, run for the board. But number three, try to make sincere friends with your neighbors in your community so that when you can join, you can have a better conversation and have more positive influence. I know that sounds simple, but that's probably the first best approach I can think of, and that's what I've been doing. I've gotten to know more and more neighbors, and magically everything gets a little bit easier for me.
Outstanding. Well, that poor lady, she can't swim in the pool anymore, and she's getting fined $250.
Can they do that, right? You have to look at the document. Always go to the paper.
I think you would do good in that neighborhood. You'd just be doing cannonballs off the side of the pool, right?
Yeah, baby, we got a pool. Yep. We pay, and trust me, we pay enough for it. I was doing the math. I'm like, geez, I could have bought my own pool at this point.
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you, Tony. Tim Parnell, they're censoring free speech. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with the the private platform, but I think it also depends on who's in control of that. Of course, you got to look at the rules there. My thing is coming back to the HOA thing. Personally, I'm very cautious of HOAs. I don't mind if there's a person, which I don't have, but my parents do have a person with a American flag painted jet ski coming out of the garden bed around the corner from their house. Okay, because America. Anyway, and it's a nice neighborhood for the record, but there's no HOA. So you know what? If I want to bury a dump truck in my front yard and have it coming out of the ground, I guess I can do that. But me personally, I just don't like it. It really comes down to the overreach of the individual and who's in charge. And so you're subject to that and how black and white they want to be, or is there overreach in general? And for me, I don't tolerate it. So I just choose not to live in an HOA. I have a very nice neighborhood personally, and everyone takes care of everything. So it's not a big deal. But I know that can change. It only takes one person, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I need to live in an HOA, so I don't have to look at that. But that is definitely a very personal thing. It really, I think that is absolutely one of the most personal decisions you have to make as a consumer is, why do you want an HOA? Yes or no? Do you want it? Do you not? And why? And, and then taking a look at the neighborhood. So
outstanding. So, gentlemen, Tim says he's moving into a van and going out into the freedom state of the world because of his HOA. No, he didn't really say that. He just said it's a choice, right? So, Mark, what's your stance on this?
Well, I think homeowners associations definitely have their positives and negatives. As you know, Tim had mentioned, you don't necessarily want to see a jet ski coming out of the bushes. But I think that the board should read the documents also and stay in their lane, and the homeowners should also abide by those. I have one suggestion, though, when it comes to this, because I've bought a number of homes in homeowners associations. If they could just squeeze that information down into a little bit less than 187 pages and break out like a
bullet points,
Reader's Digest version of all that.
Yeah.
Realtor could summarize it, because I never read them.
Hey, is that a company we can start real quick? Cliff Notes for HOAs. I think I could sell that.
There you go.
Thank you, Mark. Kirk, it's quite interesting, right? So
it is interesting.
Yeah. Break it down. Do people be doing their due diligence before moving in?
Yeah, from the lending side, I think it goes back to what Mark and Tony said. You have to have great representation. And so when someone comes to me with an HOA, or my team actually reads the entire set, the 123, 300, whatever pages it is. We read the whole thing, and we're looking for those bullet points. It doesn't mean that the consumer is not responsible to read it themselves, but it's nice to have a professional there that goes, hey, we see these 5 things, look into it. Talk to your realtor, talk to the HOA board. Becoming friends with your neighbors is absolutely key, and working to get on that board seat is the only way to control the situation there in an HOA. So every time I've been in an HOA, I've always been on the board. And sometimes it takes a little time to get there.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any fun HOA stories, throw them in the comments down below. I'd love to kind of hear some of your positives and negatives. Nick, should we be interviewing the HOA president, sitting down and finding out if they're a good fit for us before we purchase?
Yeah, I think everything is okay till it's not okay, right? Yeah. And if you look at the way the sales work, right? So you're a listing agent, you get a listing, you go to the homeowner. Typically, the first thing you say, all right, there's an HOA. You might not want to know as a listing agent, or you might go the step above and say, how active is the HOA? Do we need to disclose anything about the HOA, right? Or you can just be completely hands off and let people read the document for themselves. We have a situation right now going on in our HOA of we're not allowed to have sheds in our backyard. Okay. About 10 to 15% of the people have sheds in their backyard. The
little
HOA
garden sheds.
Yeah, just little small, like 8x8, backyard sheds.
Yeah.
So about 2 months ago, or say the beginning of the year, the HOA started sending out letters to people that had sheds saying, cease and desist, take this down. Half the people went to Facebook, half the people went to like the Nextdoor website, and everybody was chattering about it. Well, it turns out a lot of the people took down their shed on the threat, right? This one lady who took her shed down started piping up because she paid somebody to take it down. And then she actually opened up the HOA rules. And inside the document of the HOA rules, it says that all fences in the neighborhood should be wood construction. Guess how many wood construction fences there are?
Opened up a big can of worms.
She's now saying, hey, if I take down my shed, everybody should be fined for their PVC fence, which is 90% of the neighborhood. And so that brought up this whole kerfuffle about getting documents re-signed and so again, everything's okay till it's not okay. But we're in a situation right now with my HOA, kind of the same thing.
$250 fines. You can lose your pool access. That's terrible. Terrible things. Good deal. Well, we're moving on to Memorial Day weekend, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big weekend. We here at Real Estate America's newsroom urge you to go into the weekend prepared with safety in mind. There's a lot of folks that are going to be out on the roads and trying to enjoy themselves and forget about some of these different inflationary situations and wild and weird things happening across the great country of the United States of America. So be safe. Have a blessed, beautiful, and wonderful weekend from all of us here at the newsroom. Back to you. We'll be back in on Tuesday. So enjoy your weekend. Nick, how can people get in touch with you?
REUnation.com. Go check it out. Our show notes are there. go ahead and drop a line. It goes right to my email. So anything that you want to get in touch, or if you're a real estate agent, broker, mortgage, and you want to tap into some digital marketing for your business, go to nicksakkis.com. And I'm happy to chat about all the video marketing and media buying that we do at our company.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, we stream live on the RU Nation Network. Go check out runation.com. Real Estate America's Newsroom is over there. You can check out all of our previous shows to go ahead and get spun in. If you have any hot insider news or tips, would like to be on the show as a contributor, please enter your information. We'll reach out to you and go from there. So we're streaming live every Tuesday and Thursday at the strike of high noon Eastern-ish right there. So a couple minutes before, a couple minutes after, but tune in. Tell your friends about us. If you could, we ask you to smash that bell and hit the like button. Leave us some comments. We love to engage with everybody. Show us a little bit of love for all of the folks that spend their non-infinite life to go ahead and join us to contribute their education and past history for you and all of us here. So good deal. Mr. Nick Sakkis, have a blessed, beautiful, and wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on the other side.